My parents skipped my wedding because I married before their perfect daughter. Now their picture-perfect image is falling apart. So, I've been with my partner for 4 years, and we finally tied the knot about 8 months ago. Almost everyone came to the wedding, except for my sister, Molin, and my parents. It was pretty shocking that my parents decided to skip it, but honestly, I wasn't too surprised about Molin. We've never really clicked, which, looking back, I probably should have expected. Let me give you the lowdown on how things roll in my family. Growing up, it was always kind of obvious that my parents had a favorite, Molin. She seemed to ace everything, winning every competition, from spelling bees to science fairs. She was always in the spotlight, becoming class president, valedictorian, and even prom queen. Tall, fit, and pretty enough to turn heads, she even dabbled in modeling while in college before diving into a business degree. I remember when she landed her first modeling gig during her sophomore year. My parents threw this big, fancy party, inviting everyone to celebrate. Her pro headshot is still proudly hanging above the fireplace at home. The same year, I graduated in computer science, and all I got was a quick well done before they continued planning Molin's next photo shoot. Fast forward a bit, and Molin's climbing the corporate ladder like a boss. By 30, she's a senior executive with her own office and a car, while I'm working as a solid mid-level software developer. It's a good gig, but not the brag-worthy stuff parents usually boast about. Plus, I've always been shorter and rounder than Molin. Growing up, my mom would make snide comments about my looks, enroll me in fitness classes I didn't want, and put me on diets. She'd often compare me to Molin, saying things like, "Molin never has weight issues," or "you'd look as good as your sister if you tried harder." Even though I learned to brush off these remarks by high school, they still hurt. In time, I accepted that my parents didn't really celebrate my achievements as much as Molin's. What could I do? I spent years trying to earn their approval, joining clubs and even giving modeling a whirl, which flopped, and Molin loves reminding me of. But nothing ever seemed to be enough. I was always just the second daughter while they were head over heels for Molin's successes. Eventually, I stopped trying to impress them and focused on carving out my own path, connecting with folks who appreciate me for me. Things looked up after that. Knowing my parents are all about appearances, I kept things surface level during family gatherings. I'd smile and nod while they talked about Molin's new job or boyfriend. Since they had Molin to rave about, they barely noticed how distant I felt emotionally. I met my now husband at a computer conference, thanks to a mutual friend. Unlike my family, he saw the real me, my quirky humor, coding skills, and yes, my body type too. From day one, he never asked me to change or compared me to anyone else. He popped the question after 4 amazing years together, just the two of us at home with takeout and our favorite show in the background. It was perfect. I told my folks we were engaged, and their reaction was silence. My mom asked if I was sure I wanted to rush into marriage, suggesting maybe I should get in better shape first. Dad was pretty much speechless. At our engagement party, my husband noticed their odd vibe, which I was too stressed to pick up on. They spent most of the night hunched over my mom's phone in the corner. Later, my husband told me he overheard them talking to Molin, who was crying. Apparently, they were upset that I was getting married first. Who knew that wasn't the plan? Planning the wedding had its hiccups. Despite not even being engaged, my mom had already made tons of wedding Pinterest boards for Molin and wasn't keen on helping me with my dress or venue. When I picked a simple yet beautiful A-line gown that made me feel lovely, she just said it was practical and appropriate for my figure. Thankfully, my future mother-in-law stepped in, and together we pulled off most of the wedding planning. Before sending out invites, my husband and I triple-checked the guest list to make sure no one was left out. I know my parents definitely got theirs because So, I sent out electronic invites with read receipts and realized some folks hadn't RSVP'd. I texted, called, and emailed them multiple times, but either got no response or vague excuses about being busy. Honestly, I couldn't stress too much because I was already swamped with wedding prep. Thankfully, my in-laws were amazing, helping out with stuff like seating charts and flowers. At the bridal shower my husband's sister threw, nobody mentioned that my family was nowhere to be seen, even though my parents were a no-show. The wedding day was gorgeous. We had a chill afternoon garden party after a morning ceremony. Everyone kept saying how happy and in love we looked, but honestly, the empty seats in the front row and the missed father-daughter dance stung. After our honeymoon, I tried to get to the bottom of things with my family. They claimed they were upset because they never got a formal invite. I was baffled because I knew we sent them both kinds of invites, and even confirmed the delivery. I didn't confront them about their gaslighting, I just apologized and moved on. Later, My husband pointed out patterns in their behavior that hinted at their real feelings. Like, they seemed more shocked than happy about our engagement, and always had excuses not to help with wedding planning. It slowly became clear, they couldn't handle me, the less successful daughter, getting married before my sister, Molin. It was tough to swallow that my wedding became just another battlefield in their fight to uphold some family ideal with Molin at the center. Now, Molin's engaged to someone she's been with for a year, and my parents are over the moon planning this grand wedding for her. They're booking fancy venues and taking her to upscale dress fittings, all the mother-daughter moments I never got. Interestingly, lots of family members are now refusing to attend Molin's wedding events. Apparently, my parents' antics at my wedding didn't go unnoticed. When family members ask why my parents missed my wedding, I just tell it like it is, they couldn't handle me getting hitched before their favorite daughter. My parents recently accused me of trying to ruin Molin's wedding, saying people don't want to attend because of rumors I spread. But all I've done is share the truth about their treatment of me. Maybe they should think about their actions instead of blaming me for the fallout. Honestly, maintaining any semblance of a relationship with my parents is getting harder. Their absence at my wedding isn't the toughest part anymore. It's realizing they were never the supportive parents I wished for. Now, I'm focused on building a life with someone who truly values me. If anything major happens, I'll keep you posted. Since I last posted, I decided to confront my parents directly about the drama at my wedding and their accusations about Molin's big day. Your supportive comments gave me the courage to lay it all out. During our chat, my parents quickly turned it into a blame game, accusing me of being jealous and scheming against Molin. I did something I'd never done before. Instead of jumping to defend myself as I usually would, I just looked at them and said, "You know what, you're right. I am jealous, not of her career, her achievements, or how she looks. I'm jealous of the love and support you've always showered on her, which you never seemed to have for me." There was this awkward silence, and then my mom piped up, saying I was overreacting and that they treated us both the same. That was it, something snapped inside me. Years of buried feelings just came rushing out. I laid it all out, every birthday overshadowed by my sister's successes, like when my mom canceled my high school graduation dinner because Malene had a modeling gig, or how her prom dress cost more than my entire year's worth of college books. I kept going, even as my dad tried to cut me off by accusing me of exaggerating. I talked about how painful it was to see them plan my sister's imaginary wedding without a care for my real one, where they didn't even show up and left my mother-in-law to help with everything. Their response was pretty telling, they twisted everything back on me. "Why didn't you speak up if things were so bad?" they said, as if I hadn't tried for years. My mom was insistent, and my dad tried to frame my honesty as mean. Then my mom said something that really hit me: "We never thought you'd go as far as trying to ruin Malene's wedding out of spite, but we always knew you were insecure about her success. That's not how we raised you." In that moment, I got it, they were more worried about my sister's wedding than any pain they caused me, even now. I didn't apologize or take back anything for the first time. I told them flat out, "You're right about one thing, you did raise me. You taught me I'd never measure up, that Malene's achievements were more important, and that keeping up appearances mattered more than my feelings. But you also unknowingly taught me I deserve better." Then there was this long pause before my dad spoke, all cool and collected. "Maybe we should stop acting like we're bad parents since you clearly enjoy seeing us struggle. We thought you'd help fix this as family, but clearly, you've made your choice." And then my mom landed the final punch: "Maybe you just can't stand not being the center of attention, even though we always try to be fair, Rebecca. That's not on us." I didn't argue back. Why bother? They just confirmed everything I'd been saying. They couldn't own up to anything, even in this last chat. I just hung up and said goodbye. Weirdly, I felt relieved afterward. Sure, I cried, but they weren't the gut-wrenching sobs from before, they were freeing tears. I'd finally said everything I needed to, without holding back or feeling guilty. Later, I sat on the back porch watching the sunset when my husband joined me. He just held my hand quietly. I asked, "They're never going to change, are they?" He squeezed my hand and said, "No, but you have. And that's what counts." He's right, I've changed. I'm not that kid anymore, desperately seeking my parents' approval. I don't need them to validate who I am now. Accepting that my parents will never be who I need them to be is tough, but it's not as painful as hoping they'd change. For the first time, I don't care about my sister's wedding or the family drama. I've said my piece, and now it's up to them to deal with whatever comes next. It feels like a weight I've carried all my life has finally been lifted. It's not the happy ending I wanted with my parents, but maybe it's the one I needed, to stop chasing after love that should have just been there. Update 2 days later. So, It's been a few days since that showdown with my parents, and guess what? Malene decided to jump into the drama, but her plan totally backfired. She sent me this message that was all nice on the surface, but you could just hear the condescension dripping from it. Wow, what you said to our parents was seriously out of line. They've been there for us through everything and have given us so much. You can't just pin your insecurities and life choices on them and call them bad parents. After you sent that message dripping with your usual mix of superiority and sly remarks, I just couldn't. I get that your wedding wasn't all you dreamed of, but that doesn't mean you should mess up mine. There's no shame in wanting a bash that celebrates those who put in some solid effort. Rebecca, life isn't a race, you know? Instead of engaging with her, which always just feeds her need for drama, I blocked her number. I've dealt with her manipulative ways for too long, and knowing Molin, who hates being ignored, I thought that was that. A few hours later, my husband rings me at work, cracking up. Molin, unable to contact me, somehow got his number, probably through a mutual friend, and spammed him with messages on why our sisterly bond has always been rocky. She kicked things off professionally, like, as Rebecca's sister and someone who cares about our family. But then shifted to real reasons. She said my husband needed to help me act right since he's now the man in Rebecca's life, and it just got more and more patronizing. She lectured him on family dynamics, not realizing he's a software architect with an MBA, and suggested he guide me to see reason before I do irreversible damage to family ties. Her true aim was to tap into what she thought were his ambitions, saying, "Surely you understand that having good relations with successful family members, like me, could be beneficial for your future." My husband saw right through her. He thought it was hilarious she assumed her business status or some networking edge would impress him. He laughed, saying, "She really doesn't know me at all, does she?" We had a good laugh together that evening, rather than feeling annoyed or hurt. Seeing Molin's tricks fall flat, especially on someone unfazed by them, was refreshing. It hit me that despite all Molin's successes, she's still that insecure girl who needs to put others down to feel good. Clearly, she doesn't get how real relationships work if she thinks she can control me through my husband. In high school, she tried to turn my friends against me when direct bullying didn't work, same tactics, different decade. Looking back, it's clear Molin's antics were more than sibling rivalry. Back in the day, she worked hard to stay the favorite, always bragging to our parents and me about how much better she was. She had to outshine everything I did and point out my flaws to anyone I'd call a friend. But how I deal with her now is different. Her texts might have made me doubt myself a decade ago, but today, I just see the humor in her obvious attempts to stir up drama. My husband's response nailed it. Rather than getting sucked into her theatrics, he just replied, "Thanks for your concern about Rebecca. As her husband, I'm focused on supporting her happiness, not managing her behavior. Any future concerns should go directly to Rebecca. Have a nice day." Molin shot back one last message, basically saying I'd turned my husband against the family too, and warned him not to come crying when everything fell apart. Ironically, her assistance made me more determined to avoid the toxic family dynamic. Her text to my husband proved nothing's changed. She's still trying to dictate every narrative and sees any deviation from her script as a threat. Knowing her manipulation failed so completely is the best part. Instead of splitting my husband and me, it brought us closer. We joked about her messages and even planned a weekend getaway that evening. I've realized family isn't about keeping up appearances or controlling narratives, it's about sticking together, laughing, and supporting one another, especially when someone, even your sister, tries to play games. You know, I've realized it's better for me to steer clear of all the drama surrounding the Molin wedding. It's just not worth getting tangled up in my family's endless power plays. My husband and I have decided to focus on what makes us truly happy. They say success is the best revenge, but I've come to understand that real success isn't about showing off, it's about being confident in your choices and being around people who lift you up. By those standards, I'm feeling more successful than ever. So, here's the latest scoop. 2 weeks ago, my sister tried to boss my husband around, and it totally backfired. Now, things are spiraling out of control. Despite my parents' desperate attempts to patch things up and save face, I've heard from family ties that they've been going around calling each relative, blaming me for spreading nasty tales because supposedly I'm jealous of Malene's perfect wedding. Apparently, they're claiming I'm bitter because her wedding is going to be way fancier and prettier than mine was. Can you believe they say I left them out of my wedding on purpose to play the victim card? It's laughable, especially since they still live in the same house and use the same email since forever. They're saying I sent the invitation to old addresses, seriously? The funny part is their damage control tactics are a complete flop. Other family members aren't buying it at all. Quite a few have shared stories about my parents' history of favoritism. One aunt even mentioned that my mom pulled similar stunts at family weddings before, just to make sure Molin was the star of the show. It's been really satisfying to see how my extended family is responding to my parents' manipulations. Important family members, who were supposed to have big roles in Molin's wedding, have pulled back in support. They might even lose access to some exclusive venues they'd scored through family connections. A family friend's fancy clothing business is suddenly busy too. Things really hit the fan at a family gathering last weekend. Someone casually asked about my wedding photos, and my mom got so jealous she went on a defensive rant about how I've changed since getting married and accused me of trying to break up the family. Her meltdown just stunned everyone, especially those who didn't know the background, further damaging her carefully curated image. It's pretty ironic that my parents' desperate attempts to protect their perfect family image are the very reason it's all crumbling. The more they try to make me the villain, the more people see through their facade. Family members, who used to stay out of it, are now picking sides. My uncle, who always kept quiet to keep the peace, even apologized to me for not speaking up sooner. He's decided not to attend any of Molin's wedding events with his family. Luckily, I don't have to say much. The truth is doing all the talking for me. Whenever Molin and my parents try to twist the story, they just end up exposing more of their own bad behavior. All those years of keeping quiet to maintain peace only enabled them. My husband put it perfectly: they've spent years building this illusion of the perfect family based on emotional manipulation and favoritism, and it was bound to collapse eventually. I'm doing way better now. I don't have to stress about trying to win my parents' approval or juggle Molin's emotions. It's a relief not to worry about upholding their picture-perfect family image for the first time in my life. Sometimes, the best revenge is letting the truth do the talking, rather than taking any drastic actions. Big shout out to Reddit for giving me the courage to stand up for myself. The guidance and support from folks online have meant the world to me. It's amazing sometimes to realize what true family support looks like from strangers on the internet. Thanks for tuning in, and if you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell to keep up with more jaw-dropping real-life stories around you.